Hi, Roger. Hi. Welcome, everybody. I
Hello,
love the
everyone.
shirt.
Season's greetings to everyone. Happy holidays. Yes, I am here wearing my ugly sweater for the occasion. Happy to see you all here. Welcome back to Great Convos, where we always say whether you agree or disagree, you can always find great combos. Man, what a season. I'm Roger Caesar, and that gentleman over there.
I'm Alexandre Matt, and today we are just going to what come back on the season 4 that is finishing today, and we'll also ask you if you've got some of favorite moments from season 4. But also part of the title of today's episode is Ask Us Anything.
Yes.
So you can ask us anything about the guests that we've had, or about the topics that we've touched upon, or about anything.
Yep.
But Roger, should we give a warning to our viewers and listeners? We will prefer to have questions from humans.
In other words, no AI questions at all.
Yes, in other words, exactly.
We want to welcome all of our loyal listeners. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you are here with us, and we always appreciate you. First and foremost, in the comments, tell us what how your holiday season is going. Are you getting prepared for dinners with family, or trips somewhere warm and exotic, or just staying at home and just having some peaceful time? We love to hear from you. Alex, such a wonderful, wonderful season that we had this year. I mean, we tried to be very controversial. That was the whole idea of this season. All the episodes that we had, we tried our best to find some version of controversy. Now, was it always controversial? No, but most times we did find some common ground and some areas where we could butt heads a bit. But I think what was awesome was the guests that we had this year or this season. We had a ton of wonderful guests. And if you can put it up on the banner as well, just to share with everybody all the different episodes that we had this year. And for our listeners, along with telling us what you plan to do for the holiday season, tell us what was your favorite episode of this season. Which one touched your heart or got you so upset? Whichever one it was, we'd love to know.
Mhm. So the titles will show on the screen right here, but I'm taking a pause right here for the episode 2, because uh, this is the only episode this year where we were both in person. We were together in the same spot in Anaheim.
Yes.
Roger, it's always a pleasure to speak with you, but it's even more of a pleasure when we can be in person and have moments like, why don't I show a clip here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go see that speech.
You have
If
to see
can
the
put,
speech.
You can put
Once
your
you
hands
get
on
it,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely like he's like lying on his back on the chair with his feet up. So it's very funny, and this is the type of humor that is doubly funny because it's tragic. He's describing a
Yeah.
difficult situation, but he can laugh about it now, and so can we. And he gave us the permission to laugh so much that that might have been, well, that certainly made the difference. We're talking about Percy Gotuako, who unfortunately, due to unforeseen participation from the audience, went overtime and was disqualified at the World Championship of Public Speaking.
Yeah,
We spoke of other controversies that happened over that weekend, that episode 2.
Yeah, I think that was awesome to be able to, and we met some people for the first time. I know I did with Kathy, meeting her for the first time. She also said it here as well. I would just want to highlight this that Kathy got to meet both of us and the No Bake Cake in Anaheim. Yes, Kathy, it was wonderful to finally meet you in person. Uh, Not only that, it was such a huge and monumental convention in that it was the 100-year anniversary of Toastmasters. And so it brought so many different parts of why it was such an important and memorable moment for both of us. Now, we've been in person before many times, and even with this show, we have done it in person, but this one was spectacular. And I want to use that as the word because we had some fun. We had real good footage walking around, talking to everyone, getting their opinion of how they feel about being there. And yes, there was the controversy of the World Championship of Public Speaking, where not one, not two, not three, four people were disqualified.
I think it was three.
Sorry, three people. Why did I go with
Not
four?
four, but three.
Three people were disqualified in a contest, which has never been seen before. So that was huge.
Yeah. And yeah, you're right. I had almost forgotten about the bonus content that we had, some live videos. We did 5 or 6 videos that were outside of the episodes. I'm curious to know if anybody has seen some of that content. Is that something that you would want to see more in the future? Some content that is not on a Monday at 12:30 Eastern.
Right. Oh, we've got some questions coming in. Let's just try some of these anyways. What is the best memory you have of your childhood? And that's coming from Jackie. Hello, Jackie, all the way from the United Kingdom.
Well, Jackie, thanks for the question. The best memory of my childhood. Now, I'll mention one. Is it the best? What comes to mind is playing Monopoly with my friend and next door neighbor, Michel. Man, that was a long time ago. The family moved away when I was about 10 or 11 years old, and I saw him once since then. This is the sort of friendship that you have as a child and always stays with you. So playing Monopoly is fun, but it's really the interaction that we have with our friends that make the impact. So I think any sort of memory like that is worth a lifetime.
Mine as my early childhood would have been being outside with friends, similar to you had with Michelle, I believe you just said. Well, for me, it was hanging out with friends playing road hockey. Now, I know I'm dating myself, for some people may have never heard of that or done it, but I used to play road hockey on the streets. And of course, anytime a car came by, it was like, car! Everybody ran off the street, let the car get through, and then put back the nets. I think those were the times, and going on my bike and going on the dirt trails and stuff like that, and just having those outside moments with friends and getting to know them, socially get to know them, rather than just doing this as it is today. I think those were the times that I remember most when it came to my childhood. But as we move on, let's talk about some of the guests that we have on the show. And we will keep sprinkling in some of the questions. I see a lot of them here, so we'll sprinkle them in as we continue talking.
Now, we have a lot of questions, but also comments, so feel free to put those in. And regarding guests, we had 5 guests this year. Let's see them in order. Episode 4, we had Luisa Montalvo, the world champion of public speaking. Roger?
Yeah, a world champion. So that alone speaks volumes. The fact that she was able to come out of Anaheim as the world champion, that is history in the making. You can't take that away from her. And she had a great speech. But I also loved in that episode listening to her talk about her love for excuse me, her love for animals, specifically dogs, and just a humanitarian that she was in wanting to make a difference in her community in Texas. I thought that was another eye-opening part of Louisa that I did not know, and I saw her in a different light, not only as a champion of speaking, but as a champion of helping in her community, and a lover of animals, that she goes so far as to do the work that she's doing right now.
Yeah, that's right. We asked her, you want to promote your services as a speaker, and she said, no, I want to promote this message: spay or neuter your pets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought
Our
that was,
second guest was Natalie Haynes.
yeah.
Let's talk about race.
How did you feel about that? I knew there was some moments when we were in that conversation that you had some touchy moments in there. So I'd love to hear how you felt overall.
Well, yeah, well, I mean, it's uncomfortable. We're raised to say, not to think about the race of another person, and here she is and saying, we must talk about race. Okay, that's why we said in the title, "Are you uncomfortable yet?" And yeah, it was, and so we talked about it, but openly, and it was fascinating. And one thing that really stood out to me was that. So what did Natalie say? Something like, not all DEI initiatives, or diversity, equity, and inclusivity initiatives,
Mhm.
not all of them are effective.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah.
it's like an employer will do that just to check marks, and won't really advance anything. So I really liked her approach and her openness to have us open up.
Yeah. And I think the other part to that I also realize is that sometimes there's a mask in companies and they're not truly doing anything, but they say that they are so it looks good. It's the new trend, so to
Mm.
speak, and they're not actually going through and doing what is necessary. And I thought that was also uncovered in that conversation with her as well. And one of the bigger things that I took from her conversation was the fact that she talked about how different she was treated, knowing that she was in a mixed relationship already, and that her husband was white, she's black, but when she is around him, there is a certain privilege that comes with it when he's by himself or when she's with him outside of when she's not there. And she talked about that very candidly, and I like that.
Yeah, that was episode 7. If you want to watch it again or for the first time.
So let's just throw in one of these next questions real fast. Oh, there you go. Yeah, come on, come on.
Suzanne asks, "Where is Alexandre's sweater?" Do I even have one? I don't think I have one like this. It's funny because it's like every year that question comes up, will you wear one if there's a party or something? And I'm like, do I really need to buy a sweater just for wearing it once a year? And
Ah, having fun. I was just like you, Alex. I didn't
yeah,
think I would ever get one, and I decided to grab one at least that looked good. And let me ask everyone here: is this one okay? Is this okay? Put it in the chat. Okay, thanks, Rob. Appreciate that.
Rob says nice sweater. Yeah, good, good. And Jackie says yes, also. So maybe I can get an ugly sweater that's not so ugly. All right.
There you go. There you go. So, who was our next guest that we had on the show?
On episode 9, we had Elisa
Oh,
Rocher,
yeah.
who organized a 100-year anniversary for Toastmasters by creating an event, a what do you call it, a speech marathon with 100 speeches in, was it 24 hours, or I don't know, whatever, however long it took. I think it was more than 24 hours, and she stayed up during all that time to watch the whole thing.
Wow.
Roger, what did you think of that?
Number one, I thought that it was one of the most, how can I say? I think I would put it as she decided to do something that had never been done or rarely was done before. I thought that she was tenacious. I thought that she was ingenious in coming up with this wonderful idea of going around the world nonstop with speakers. Number two, I thought that she thought outside the box. And that I can always appreciate in anybody when they say, you know what, we're going to do something that's kind of different and we're going to have our problems, which she explained. And I appreciated that too. Uh, she said that she had issues all around, but she still stayed committed to it and was so humble. And you said
Yeah.
that well out behind the scenes, how humble this woman was in saying that, hey, it's not about me, it's about my team, and how they were able to come together despite any type of controversy or challenges that we had and make history with a historical moment in Toastmasters.
Yep. Episode 14, Alana Moore. Alana Moore. Oof. I think a perfect example of someone who goes through something really difficult and brings the good out of it. We even asked her, going to prison for years in another country, would you take it back if you could go back? And she said something like, no, it was part of my journey. I needed that to learn something, and now she's doing something good out of it.
Yeah. And there's really nothing more I could say with that. The only other part that I would say I took from her conversation was you can't trust everybody. And sometimes when we are so determined to do any and everything to make it, we don't realize that sometimes the people that are around us aren't always trying to do what's best for us. And you have to be careful. And in her case, she trusted people who she thought would help her to move her career forward, and instead derailed her completely. And we've got to be careful of the people that you have in your circle. This is what I got from that. Be careful of the people you have in your circle. Make sure that they are really there for you and want to see the best in you. And if you don't have those type of people, you have to start thinking about that and saying to yourself, hey, I'm the CEO of my life, and get rid of those people who you don't see being a part of that.
Right. Before we speak about the last guest that we had, and this was just last week, do we have another question?
Go ahead.
How about this one? There was one that was easier and one that's hard. I went to the hard one. Here's from Rob. He says, hi, gents. Great program this year. Thank you. Let's stop it there. No, and then he says, how are we going to achieve peace in the world?
Well, this goes back to some of the episodes that we actually had on the show. I remember the episode we talked about with regards to, there it is, good. 1 year later, searching for clarity in the Israel-Hamas conflict. We talked about that at length because, number one, it directly affected you, and this was really hard for you to talk about. Rob, the real answer to that is that, at least from my perspective, it takes steps from everyone, one step at a time, doing the right thing and trying to be a good person. We are human. We're going to make mistakes. I think the world needs to realize in general that we are much better when we work together. If we try and do things that can build us up and make us a stronger nation, a stronger world, that would be the way I would see it. But is it a possibility? We still have to keep on working at it. And it starts from home. It starts right here. It starts with working with people around you. It starts with trying to lend a helping hand. It's taking away all the jealousy and the envy that goes on within your own circles or the people, your community. Starts there. And then you work towards building that up. You got very quiet. Alex, we can't have.
Well, because I'm trying to. I'm trying not to remove the positive vibe that you're showing here. Because I think the truth is, there's always been conflict, there's always been wars, there's always been evil in the world. And I suspect it will always be there. It might be a reality of humanity. So we have to deal with the reality as it exists and try not to, we, of course, work towards a more peaceful world, but not necessarily thinking that everything will be peaceful one day. Maybe that's the way to see it. How can we build a more peaceful world for the future?
Right. Yep. Good question, Rob. Good question. Was there anything else, Alex, like before we get to our last guest? Anything that really stuck out over the episodes, over the season for you? Is there any one thing that really struck a chord to you? And
Yeah.
we're asking our listeners as well, if throughout this entire year, or not year, but entire season, was there anything that really struck a chord, stuck out, hit you right here in the, right in the heart, or had you thinking? Put it in the
Well,
chat.
so Roger, one thing that really had me thinking and even uh, make my thinking evolve over this really difficult topic, because I was really adamant about one way, and then I thought, well, by speaking with you and other people, maybe I was too radical on this. And this was the debate over daylight saving time. So we had fun with that one, eh, Roger?
We did, we did, we did. I didn't have anything really to say, but we found a way to make a conversation out of it.
And we did have many comments even after the episode. It's rare that we keep having comments after, but either one way, one side or the other. Yes, keep it, or no, ditch it. And my I started off the episode thinking it not only should we remove daylight saving time, but it will be removed eventually, and it is an inevitability. It will happen. But so without going into details right now, I think maybe not. Maybe it's the best thing that we can have. This is like the balance that we have between having more sunlight later on in the day during the summer and having not waking up, I guess, not going to work when it's still dark in the morning during the winter. So while it is still frustrating twice a year, I guess I can calm down a bit if we keep the daylight saving time.
You are something else, my friend.
Thanks, Roger.
I know we are up against the time, but I think it's important that we do two more things, and that is talk about the final guest, and then have one more question, which I think should sum up everything with us.
Sure. And our last guest was Mason Sawyer. This became one of our most viewed episodes, certainly the most viewed on YouTube. It was much more viewed than all the other episodes, maybe even combined.
Yeah.
Mason, who spoke about losing almost all of his immediate family and going through that tragedy and now helping people. Roger?
Yeah, Alex, as a father, the first thing that struck me about this was his humility, the vulnerability, and sitting there asking myself, would I have been able to get through that? Listening to his story really tore me apart because I kept thinking, what if that happened to me? Could I be sitting here now speaking about it a mere 3 years later and being on all these shows, including ours, which we are so thankful for Mason for coming on here and talking about this? But the biggest part that got me was the fact that, unlike maybe other people who go through something and then are doing good afterwards and saying, you know what, I got stronger, I got better at this, and I want to help other people now who need my help to get through whatever it is that they're dealing with. Mason said, I'm not good. I'm not well. And doing this is actually therapeutic for me because I'm still hurting. And I thought that was such a telling part of it all. that he wasn't going to sit there and say, yeah, I love bringing people on my show and letting them talk about what's going on with them because I've been through it and I feel like I can help them. No, he said, I'm not well. It still hurts every single day. And this, by doing what I'm doing now, it allows me to talk and for them to talk. And it's therapeutic. And I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. Check out that conversation, episode 16. That you asked if something really hits hard. There it is. There it is. Yeah. What's the last question that we have, Roger?
Well, the last question comes from one of our newer listeners. It's Sylvia. Hello, Sylvia. Thank you for being a part of the show. What is the one word that represents the year of 2024 for you? And I'm going to even add, what do you think is the word you will use for 2025? As hers was revealing.
So, Roger, I think you're the type of person who does this, who has a word or a theme for the year, like Sylvia. I do not. So I'm going to have to think about it for a few seconds while you give me some time by telling us what is your word.
Yeah, mine for 2024 was to well, not the word that I started with, but I feel that my word was challenging. It was a very challenging year. It was like a roller coaster ride. When I started the year, I said more for 2024. That was my whole thing. More for 2024. And it was that way. And then I realized there were some challenges that I went through, some heartbreaks, some heartaches, and some moments where I had to really show resilience. And I could be very blunt and honest with that. But I think that for 2025, it's to feel alive in 2025. That's my words that I'm saying right now. It's feel alive in 2025.
You're looking for rhymes.
Good. Oh yeah, I always do that, right? So
well,
that's
one word that comes to mind for 2024, for the year that's about to close, is opening or reopening. So since 2020, in 2020, all of the activities were online. It started opening up in 2 years later, and now it's like everything's opening up again, or it seems to me, and there is an appetite for these in-person gatherings and get-togethers, which is very positive for me, because I suspected when we were like going out of the pandemic, I suspected that it was going to take many, many years before going back to a sort of back to normal of how it was before. Now, of course, not everything is normal as it was before, and it probably never will be, but there's still like this openness of everybody just going out and, being normal human beings in person again. And that I absolutely loved seeing that in 2024.
I see you got a lot of family here, Alex.
That's right. There's my sister, Ariane. Bonjour.
Yep, and there's your mom as well.
Maman. Hi.
Hello, mama. And the word that Sylvia says is becoming is her new word for 2025. So I love that. And of course, Rob says positive vibe for 2020 in 2025.
Nice.
I love that. Well, Alex, we have come to the end of yet another great season, full of wonderful episodes, amazing guests, and great conversations between you and I. Any last words?
Well, before I give last words, because I know my mother is listening and she was an English teacher, I will correct between you and me, conversations between you and me, just so she knows I'm listening and I've heard her lesson. Well, Roger, we've had 4 seasons, and yes, there will be a 5th one starting in January. We'll let you know when we will start and what will be the general theme. So we've got all these ideas and some great guests lined up. Now, before we end, let's just say we've got some holidays coming on. I've put some decorations here, so I might not have the sweater, but I've got some decorations behind me. And as my to go back to my mother, she did write that Christmas and not Thanksgiving, Christmas and Hanukkah
Yeah.
coincide this year. This happens once every 7 or so years. Uh,
Mhm.
so I know in my case and many families, they do celebrate both. You know, there's a lot of mixed marriages, and even without even being Christmas or Hanukkah, there are other celebrations during the summer,
Mhm.
winter. I mean, so let's say this: whatever your celebration, whether you have some or not, I wish for everyone to have a peaceful time. And whether you speak about touchy topics or not, I hope you'll have some great conversation and still, remain friendly with your friends and remain uh, with your family, have good ties and good times. So, is that a long-winded way of saying happy holidays?
No, I wanted you to say something like that. I think it's important, my friend. I will just echo the same thing. Please enjoy yourselves. Have a safe holiday season. Have great conversations. You may not agree, but also understand the beauty of being together and having these conversations when you do. And I hope that around that table, or if you are just simply by yourself, that you can look back at the year, find some of the fond memories that you had, and look forward to a new year, new possibilities, new adventures, and new opportunities in 2025. For both Alex and I, we have been so grateful for all of you who have been here listening to us banter back and forth, make mistakes live on this platform, and still come every week and enjoy conversations. So, as we always say, whether you agree or disagree, you can always find great combos. Happy holidays to all of you, and we will see you in the new year.
Bye bye. See you soon.